It's showing a video, so hopefully people can see that now. Thank you for the note. It works way better than saying words. That was great. So yeah, I got a note. I wasn't being shown on video. I guess I missed a button out of the 17 buttons I have to push to get this show on the road. Oh gosh. Let's see. Can I post this here? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going live on Twitter now either. So thank you for listening. What are we looking at? So if you're listening only, we're looking at what looks like to be a green bronze dragon. I say dragon loosely because really they're calling it a beast, um, but it appears to be coming out of an egg. And if we look at the actual piece that's for auction, you can see that there are some gold pieces to it, not unlike our Tridactyl friends. Of course, if you're just joining me, I have to confess, I believe that the Tridactyls actually are the Nagas and the dragons of mythology. And that's a big leap for people, I understand. And so when I found the striations in the bodies, um, I thought maybe we'd be able to see those elsewhere, and I think we did find them. So if you look closely at this Han Dynasty dragon, which I'm going to share with you again because it looks like we lost connection here. Thanks again for coming. If you have any questions or if you'd like to speak, it looks like Mr. Fat Jesus would like to speak. I guess I'll give you a second there because you'll confuse me before I get to everything I have to push here as far as buttons. Let me know if the X is working. Can you see me on X? Because if you can, you might be able to leave a little message. I have a way of showing your messages when you join. So that's fun. I think it's fun. So check out this beast dragon thing. What I liked about it, of course, again, was the striations. Here's the underside of it. So you see it's made out of a gemstone of sorts. It's like emulating an egg. And it appears as though this being is with a bunch of other serpentine elongated beings with striations on them. Not only striations, but it looks like little eggs too. I thought that was super interesting. Now you can always ask yourself, is this really a tridactyl hit, or is Ed just stretching, and what is this? Well, how happy was I when I zoomed in on the statue, and when I zoomed in, I saw this. Let's see, you're not seeing it. I saw this. Okay. So I zoomed in, and not only do I think we have this dragon beast, this tridactyl. At first, I thought maybe this artist didn't know what these creatures were, and maybe he had heard about them from his grandfather, his father. And I based that on like the stylization, like the little ears instead of horns or ridges. But then when I zoomed in and I saw these little psi symbols, these little algae symbols, if you're talking runes, I saw these. I'm like, well, don't you know those look just like tridactyl prints? Isn't that wild? I also thought then too, is this the origin of our arrows? Is our arrow symbol coming from their feet? And it's like arrows are saying like tridactyls this way. Let's take another look at that piece and let's see if we can do I don't know if they allow me. I don't think they allow me to do a double share. Wouldn't that be cool? I could do a double share two different screens. That would be interesting. Let's go back and look at the beast though, because I think it's a little interesting here. Let's go ahead and have, let's jump into Fat Jesus here. He had something he wanted to say, I guess. Okay. How you doing today, Fat Jesus? You are on the air. Not hearing you at this time. Not sure if you're talking or not. Well, you can always try again. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. So maybe I have to. Do I have to allow you to speak? So you're muted. Unmute everyone. Maybe that works. Yeah, I can hear you now. How's it going today? Thanks for joining Let's talk Tridactyls. Yeah. What's what's going on today? Oh, thanks. I see. And that's true. And no one can and now anyone who's watching the video can't hear what you're saying. So yeah. So do you have any comments or anything that you want to say that maybe I could pass on to any of the video streaming crowd? Also, so those of you in video land, we have Fat Jesus on the line. If you can listen to us on Spaces, that would be great. We got Spaces and video going. And he's saying that people are waking up, that people are starting to realize that these could be aliens. Yeah, this is going to be earth shaking. And once the tidal wave, I always think of those films where you watch like some character becomes super popular in one of those movies. And then next thing you know, everyone's wearing the mask and celebrating the character in the streets. I just imagine that one day, almost like the Day of the Dead festivals that happen, which are very similar because it's ancestor worship, and that's what these beings were. That we're going to have these big festivals one day, tridactyl parties. So, oh yeah, in Peru, the kids in Peru are already making like science projects out of these things. Right. So sure. So what we've done over the course of probably the decades is we've dismissed the indigenous beliefs of people as mere myth and folly. And I'm even guilty of dismissing things from religious works that may have an ounce of truth in them. Hey, I'm showing on screen, those of you that are in Spaces, I'm showing a couple more artifacts that I think could possibly be demonstrating the striations that I see. And then I have another hypothesis that perhaps these striations, as the beings develop limbs, because I'm going with a metamorphosis theory, that once these beings develop limbs, that you may end up seeing those same striations possibly on their fingerprints. Because my theory is these things are being born with maybe two forelimbs. I don't expect them to be born with rear limbs. I guess it's possible. That's my guess. So, what do you guys think of that? I'm posting a fingerprint picture right now. Mr. Fat Jesus was asking, "Can we see fingerprints?" not only can we see fingerprints, but I have another hypothesis that perhaps as the ancients emulated their skin patterns in ceramics, then perhaps too they emulated their fingerprints, and maybe we can see those. Maybe even these beings were clever, and the message was they wanted to be known. And so perhaps some of these great megaliths in like Longshu, China, um, perhaps those too are actually showing fingerprints. And I have some stone. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, it makes it to people who are trying to get it. Yeah. it's a yeah, it's something that definitely should put people over if you're on the fence of whether to believe or not. Something like fingerprints should kind of you know so what I'm showing now, if anyone's listening, I'm gonna cut you off there a little bit. What I'm showing right now for anyone who's listening is I'm showing some Longyu Cave and Yangshan Quarry, and it's what people would suggest that these quarries, these caves, were cut with machines. But which is I'm inclined to agree. I mean, I don't know how else you do this. To be honest, I guess you have hundreds of men popping away with a chisel. But to me, it's kind of reminiscent of again of their fingerprints. So was the message them trying to show us their fingerprints? This close up here, you think you were looking at something skin. This is actually what is this? This is Yangshan Quarry. So Yangshan Quarry is a beautiful megalith with huge stone structures, and that's a close up of their quarry. So is that part of the artistic tradition? And then we have a close up of some Florida ceramics. I thought it would be great. Wouldn't it be great to find tridactyl fingerprints right on the ceramics? How important would that be? So I do have this running theory. Let's go ahead and look at this other post right above it. So there's these knobs, they call them, also known as protuberances. Protuberances, did I say it right that time? Oh, it's going to be my curse word. So they have these knobs. I think so. People use the word knob. I don't think they're structurally significant. They seem to be thrown about haphazard, but with no meaning. And it made me wonder if, like, are these really used for any sort of engineering, or is it again just decoration? And here we have on screen close up of the scoots. Are they just trying to recreate scoots? Which Fat Jesus, did you see the post today on there's possible megaliths in Montana? And let's see, extra credit for anybody out there who knows there's actually a specific name for this theory. I'm always glad when other people come up with names. Sometimes I have a theory and I can't think of a name for it. Anyone know? Extra credit. Anyone out there? We got Universe commenting, oh my God, that's genius. Oh my God, LOL. I have ceramics and ones I just noticed recently contain fingerprints. Well, how cool is that? Yeah. So good to know. That's why I love opening this up to comments. We got people on two sides here. We've got spaces going. So if you're wondering why you're only hearing one side of a conversation on the video, that's why. Spaces, if you're listening, if you're wondering why we're talking about pictures that you can't see, that's on the videos also. And you don't have to watch it on X. You could watch it on YouTube. Universe has got another comment here. Let's show Universe's comment. Also, I've heard or seen that you can look at different pieces for a whole different experience under a black light, many glow. I have seen things of that nature, and that is certainly very, very interesting and cool. Which maybe I've covered a few things. Let's go look at those megaliths in Montana. I posted some really cool pictures. Yeah, it puts things in a new perspective too. They've done that with some of the Greek statues too. Well, let's take a look at this stone figure. Are you looking at your screen? This is a dolmen, which is, I don't know the actual etymology of that, but it's a stone edifice, stone creation, and this is in Montana. And what's interesting about it is you have two stones that are clearly that were probably horizontal at one time, now upright with a dome-like head, capstone, and then even look at the bottom. Look at the feet. I call them feet, but look at the feet. So this is from Wandering Wolf Productions. He went out to Montana. He went to another place called Sage Wall, and Sage Wall. Oh, and by the way, here's the top of that capstone, which I say is that a kappa, which is what I nicknamed the concave region of the tridactyl head. That is, I was related to a mythological creature in Japan that they always show depicted with this concave thing. It holds water. So I named it after that, the kappa. That looks like it could be a kappa right in the front of the skull, as it should be. So I don't know if that is. It would be just another coincidence, right? Let's look at some of these. So guess what? These stones in Montana. Now this is really hard to see because this is like, if you're on Spaces, this is like trying to pick out one of those spiders in the bark of a tree or an owl hiding. I'm super sorry for anyone watching this. You're like, what the hell did you post? So I'm gonna I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. I'm just gonna trace around it. I don't know if you can see the mouse. Can you see the mouse? So these are knobs or nubs on the Montana megaliths. Let's get some other angles. Maybe it could help. Yeah, it's really hard to see. Go watch the video yourself. Honestly, it's real exciting. To me, they almost look like tridactyl size heads. Certainly in their sort of cylindrical, oval like shape. Here's a couple other things I posted from his video. I don't know if he caught them. It almost looks like there is a couple of sphinx-like stone structures. Again, this really could be all pareidolia, but the site is so strange. Here's a couple of giant possible heads with maybe eyes in them. I don't know. They could be rocks. And then here's just a side view of the wall. Definitely take a look at this video yourself. It's called Sage Wall, Montana. It has like 3 or 4 stacked rocks, larger rectangular rocks at the bottom, square rocks in the middle, and then they're topped off with these oval stones, these oval tridactyl head-like stones. Wow. Interesting stuff. Anybody have anything to add? Yeah. So just one of the many, I don't stop researching. So since I don't stop researching, I don't stop learning. And that's been great. So I'm learning about, I was never really big into Chinese culture. And now I am. Let's talk about the artifact I have today. But the artifact I have today requires us to go over to the Alien Project. This is going to be a little special here. We're going to go to the Alien Project. That's the-alien-project.com. And we're going to take a look at, let's see, we're going to see how Suye does. Which does the first the first stone? The first stone? Yeah, it looks. I mean, it looks kind of cordiform. Looks kind of horn shaped. There's probably a few things you could see in there, right? Where is Suje? Let's see. I'm going to show you Suje today. Okay, so why did I come to see Suje? I wanted to take a look at her nether regions. What? So I've been wondering what these beings are in this stage. And so I had an interesting theory. I love to come up with groovy theories. And I was trying to figure out, are these things, are they a polywog or whatever? No, well, not a polywog. Are they some intermediary juvenile stage? Are they an elderly adult stage? I'm going to go with the fact that they're still kind of curved, that maybe they've only been out of the egg for so long. So I'm going to go with their young, okay? But in mythological terms, I am reminded of something that the Chinese talk about called dragon tortoises. Yeah, they had some sort of myth or something like turtles couldn't be born or something unless they mated with a snake or something. And it's a reoccurring myth of snake and tortoise. Sometimes they're intertwined, sometimes they're the same creature. But look at that bottom piece. Let's look up another example, because there are two what they call insectoids. Oh, I hate the term insectoids. They're not really insectoids, I don't think. Uh, that is the ass we're looking at and the feet. Yeah, that is the ass end. Well, they all kind of look like ET because ET probably was designed to look like them. After all, Steven Spielberg worked with the Blue Book professor, Hynek, who probably had either firsthand information or, who knows, for all we know, showed Spielberg firsthand photos or something. I do think Spielberg owes us an explanation, though, in that regards. So how do I get out of this viewer? I'm going to leave this viewer section. I want to look at one more of the insectoids called Nucari, and that is under Discoveries. And go to Discoveries, and there's Nucari. Nucari is similar to the Suye we just saw. All right, and there's her lower end, it looks like. Is that her lower end, or that's her skull? That's her skull. Let's go back. I'm looking for the lower end. There it is with eggs. Nice x-ray of it. Okay, so why am I showing you her and I'm talking about maybe it's conserving of resources. Let's see what I got in my hand, though, Mr. Fat Jesus. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. So I got one of these things. It's some sort of a dragon tortoise emblem meant to emulate a turtle shell. Has a youthful fetus dragon on it. There's an appendage on the back. So I'm just curious, is this something that they thought was, I say they, the ancient Chinese of the Hongsheng culture, is this something that they thought reminded them of the abdomens of these other beings, these Nucari style aliens? I don't. Let's see here. It's supposedly Chinese, Hongsheng. So, yeah. And again, no, it's not a scale, it's stone. But I don't know if there's like one of the stones. I didn't know if it had actually like, I don't know if they somehow infused the stone with other stuff. I don't know. It is very odd. I hope it would be fun if it's a real artifact. If not, oh well. So thanks again, Uni, for interacting with Tex. We got Fat Jesus speaking, and we've got Thunderstone. That's a great name. And Thunderstone's an interdimensional traveler. So that's always good to have on the page. It's a it's like a mini turtle. And then I wonder too, is this the number of? I guess it would be related to ribs. Are those indicators of like tridactyl ribs? I don't know. When I made the little art forms of the Egyptian djed, or the Samek pillar. Um, I've shown it with, I believe, 4 lines, and I think that's so. Who knows? Who knows? Sometimes I get ahead of myself. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You probably could do something like that. You could make armor out of it. Hey, let me show you some other cool artifacts what I found just in the last 24 hours. I try to keep this current. Let's take a look at. So I'm starting to reconsider all these, like, it involves pareidolia, to be honest. I'm starting to reconsider all these giant uh, natural stone monoliths that are out there. And so, how about this one? How cool is that? Now, again, is it just the cylindrical rock? I don't know, because it it almost looks like, is it trying to emulate the neck? It's like, well, was this a purposely made by someone who had the power to warp geology? Or again, is it just pareidolia and people see it and they're like, hey, that reminds me of something? I don't know. But it's making me reconsider some of the stone monoliths all over the world. That one is in England. It's called the Doubler Stones. It's in the English Highlands. They call it the Peak District, I believe, because it's the higher elevation in the center of the country. How about this creature head I found? Don't you love him? He looks like he's from Star Wars. He looks like he's like Bosk, the bounty hunter from Star Wars. So this is part of, I believe it's these Cyprus artifacts. They have these Cyprus cruciform beings, so cross-shaped beings, which seems to be a common pose that these beings like to demonstrate. You see it in the Algiz, you see it in Maasai, you see it in the child letter from China. It's this outstretched sort of savior look. But this creature here, that is just, I'm sorry, that's just one of, I, maybe, yeah. But I think they nailed it. I think this person may have actually seen these beings, in my opinion. That's what I try to do, is like try to, if it's realistic, the person probably saw them. If it starts to become stylized and mythical and outlandish, then it's time has passed and they're probably going by the ancestral tales. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's funny you bring up wood. I heard that Flint Dibble, a somewhat famous archaeologist lately, he says that they dated the pyramids by like a piece of wood that was like found like wedged into the stone wall. And I'm just like, God, what an awful way to date a giant stone megalithic structure with the little bit of wood you found inside. That just sounds like bad science to me. It's like, oh, we found this piece of wood from 2500 BC. Therefore, the entire structure is from 2500 BC. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't seem. Exactly. Someone could have went camping one day. So yeah, if you're into drama, there's definitely drama between Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock. They had both appeared recently on Joe Rogan. I think I would have been a good referee for them because I like to think I lie somewhere in the middle of the two of them. I have performed archaeology, but I'm not above imagining greater things like Mr. Hancock is. So yeah, if you're into that, yeah. Well, I mean, this is what's happened in Mexico, right? They had to uncover them, and then even in China, China won't excavate the emperor's tomb. It's still there under the mountain. By the way, check out this groovy. They're calling it a heart symbol. This gold heart. I think it has a quite the insane looking picture on it. This is actually in an Egyptian museum. I don't know. What are you guys seeing out there? What do you What do you guys see? Any thoughts? Anyone? Anyone? That's me. I think I see. I think I see an alien head here looking sideways to the left. I don't know. He's looking that way. I guess. I'm not sure. You see that? Okay. That's what I saw. I thought I saw a big eye here, and I saw the back head, maybe the neck. I don't know. Maybe it's something even looking straight at me. I find that a lot of this art is, well, it could have multiple meanings. Sometimes something might look like a skull, and it might simultaneously look like a body at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. It's a gold Egyptian thing. Because I was researching, once again, hearts, and I thought this too, this piece reminded me. Let me go side to side by this one. This piece, these are tiny little, amulets, and they call them heart amulets. So I couldn't help but think, are these two some stylized versions of the skull and simultaneously somewhat anthropomorphic, showing a body of sorts? That is like an inch or two. It's very small. It's an amulet. There's some other ones too. Well, they're little stone amulets. And on this one, on the bottom, it looks like there might be some perhaps stylized reptilian cross hatching. So again, I'm seeing this pattern over and over and over again. It seems to be related to the beings. It seems to be related to reptilian scales. And if you look at some of the pottery I've posted recently, I did post some pottery side by side with some skin, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So here again is some cross hatching pottery. And then over here, some actual skin pottery. Remember the Alamo. Yeah, I mean pottery pretty much is pottery usually. It's bowls and vases. It's really utilitarian. Well, I don't know about that. They're called hearts. That little stone amulet, and I think they look like tridactyl heads. So me personally, I just try to stay focused on the tridactyls. I try not to go into spaceship stuff. If you want to go into something what I think might be a spaceship, look up the trigonolito, the of the Tainos. That's a super interesting piece. I can see if I can find that for you. The trigonolito. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's in Spanish. That's about as far as my spaceship talk goes. Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't find evidence for ships. I don't find evidence for ships. I don't find evidence for ship pieces. So I have this piece on the screen if you guys are watching. It's the trigonolito. It is a trigonolito. It is a three-corner thing. It could very well be a ship. It's supposed to symbolize a god. Maybe it's the delta of our alphabet, the dalet of the ancient alphabet. Perhaps it is something that streaks across the sky, not too far off from some other triangular ships we see in the folklore. So there you go. There's my ship for you. What do you think of that? That is one of in my opinion, that is this is one of the weirdest artifacts in the world. I'm learning about Greek letters, and it's been a really good experience. And so basically, I've just taken my own BA in anthropology, and I'm like giving myself my own master's degree here in the virtual field, if you will. Yeah, well, of course, I know. The way I see it with some of these things, it's like It's like someone took the time to make it, so it's still art, right? It's still art. We don't know. Oh, I know. For real, you know it's happening or it will happen. Hey, well, that's part of the narrative right now, part of the modern folklores. Russian oligarchs bought some of the bodies that were found. And so it's in somebody's office right now. It's in Ivan's office. Do you know what? There is still no clear winner. I sent Cosmic Road his head. There is no clear winner. No one has come out and said that they've made any like really good post about my constant companion theory. And I was hoping to get at least two posts and see how isn't it? So Cosmic's super happy with his. He got it. And again, you can see fine details like the thing I called the let me focus in on that for you. The kappa, right? You guys see that? The kappa. Of course, the cortiform ridge or the supraorbital ridge. And then you can and then there's little ridges here which are more pronounced than some of the other subjects. It would be nice to have a copy of the ones with the really pronounced 3D ridges. That would be great. They're very similar. There's some fine, differences. Again, some have more pronounced horn-like structures on the top. Uh, it's not undetermined because they don't really seem to exhibit male sexuality. They may be hermaphrodites who maybe even partake in parthenogenesis. So they self replicate, which is why it looks like maybe the fetuses and the eggs have eggs themselves. So they may be born pregnant. So can you imagine what kind of numbers this creature would have, right? There could be, Antarctica could be the home to an empire of millions or billions of tridactyls. Yeah, yeah. They call it sequential hermaphroditism. And I actually now some of the science is vague on this still. So, but there is science suggesting that they were hermaphrodites. I made the prediction a long time ago based simply on the myths because characters like Loki and characters like Set become pregnant and have children, the two of them. And even Yahweh says something like, I was Sade and now I'm Yahweh. I think that's the order. I don't think it was vice versa. So I was able to guess. And so when they finally said that, I was like, wow. And then parthenogenesis, I guessed, only also from myths that say there was some sort of serpent reptile mother that was the first being and she self created and she self impregnated. And that's where we get our myths of the virgin birth. It's been going on for a long time. I think, myths and religion, we say there are our myth and religion. I think, it could be the Tridactyls. When we hear stories of the Greek myths, it might be their history that we're just Well, well, I mean, I mean, obviously, oh, we got somebody here. Go Gears fans. We're gonna show their posts. Hey, Gears fan, how are you doing? Thanks for posting. We got this streaming. We are also, I think, on Spaces still, right? So we're just trying to do two things at once. Trying to use Spaces for people to talk, and we're trying to use Stream to show groovy videos. So we got Gears fans saying, hey man, how are you? Thanks for coming." So what you're saying is, so the science is obviously, as you know, there's science that sequential hermaphroditism can happen, parthenogenesis can happen, as with Komodo dragons. Um, Now, as far as the myths go, or the ancestral narratives, I think, support this. Oh, Gears fan follows me on Reddit. Right on. What symbol is that in the background? That is that's the Greek psi symbol. That's what I chose as our tridactyl symbol. There's more to it, obviously, than that, right? So plenty of though, Fat Jesus, of myths and legends referring to virgin births, and I think, what was it, Sophia from the Gnostic Christians? Sophia thought herself into existence. So I was thinking about the 7 days of the week. I feel like we might be missing one of the planets in the 7 days of the week. We have the sun, we have the moon, we have Mars, we have Mercury, we have Jupiter, we have Venus, and we have Saturn. The one planet we're missing is Earth. It's almost as though they were alluding to Earth as the eighth god, and how many theories are there right now that the Earth is maybe a sentient being itself? So maybe Earth sent the Tridactyls to Earth from Earth, And of course, that Harvard paper just came out, cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. I've got the constant companion theory. Do you think the Tridactyls were here before the flood? Yeah, I do think the Tridactyls were here before, and whether it was one flood or several floods, these beings are associated with building waterways. The Anunnaki, the Menehune of Hawaii, the Naga of Sri Lanka, they're always building big F-off stone aqueducts and water holders, probably for breeding. Whoa, man, I found there's these giant hot tub sized jars in Oceania. I can't remember what the island was, and they have lids on them. They have they're giant like hot tubs with giant lids that go on the hot tub. And on the top of the lid are like these beings in a prostrate, lying on their stomach pose, as though getting ready to birth. That seems to be the birth position. The birth position is on all fours, which of course some obstetricians, I think, do practice that sort of unusual birth at times, with the woman getting on all fours. Thanks for following me, by the way. Thanks for everyone who's respectful and nice. I hate when people are like, "You're dumb. Your theory's dumb." It's like, we could debate, and a lot of what I say is speculative, and we're dealing with stuff that it's hard to prove. So the good news is, exact word. So Fat Jesus is saying that there are people are getting ready to leave. I'm repeating for the streamers. We'll have to figure out a way how I can stream the spaces, right? There has to be a way to do that, right? Or maybe I'm doing it wrong. So we'll have to figure it out. But you're saying that, yeah, we're leaving Earth. We've got the technology. And you were saying something else too. You're saying, are people coming here? Is somebody? Yes. Well, are they visiting Earth? Have they always been here? So here's some Gear fans posted on the stream. Thanks, Gears. I appreciate this. It says, your theories are wild, but I am a fan of the alien body subreddit and your Tridactyl Reddit too. I appreciate the work. We're trying out there. Yes, go ahead. So, Mr. Fat Jesus here is Mr. Fat Jesus is suggesting what would happen if you saw a flying saucer land and beings stepped out of it? What would you do? That's a good one. Well, read about Phil. Watch the videos of Phil Schneider, I believe his name is, and he tried to pull a gun on an alien, and the 7 foot tall gray waved his hand in front of his own chest and blasted Phil with a blast of lightning. And on that note, I am going to wrap it here. It's been an hour. That's a good amount of time for me. I will leave you with that story. Look up Philip Schneider and